another episode of Talking That Talk Official Podcast where we have comfortable and uncomfortable conversations. I am your host, Juice, aka No Ordinary Brother.
All right, hello world. What's good? I go by the name of King Exodus. As always, welcome back to your favorite show. If you're tapping in for the first time, let's subscribe to the YouTube channel and make it official. This is not your favorite show, by the way, FYI. I ain't asking. I'm telling you that. All right.
Hey, man, tell me, man. Tell me. Hey, listen, I'll take the money.
Make sure you tap into that TikTok as well. Talking That Talk Official. We got content on that as well. All righty. So, first segment we'll talk about tonight before we do the main event. We have Threads, right? Social media company that was launched by the good old Mark Zuckerberg. So Meta launched Threads, and it was pretty much a carbon copy of Twitter, but better. Now, Mark and Elon Musk, the ex-CEO of Twitter, have been pretty much going at it recently. So this is like a beef that they got going on, right, within these social media wars, so to speak. So it's very interesting how they say there's no honor amongst thieves, but they say that the business world is more grimier than the streets. It's kind of just interesting how this guy can steal a company from his friends, take their ideas, work his way up to the top, make this the biggest social media platform, and still to this day not really innovate, but mimic other people's creations, but do it better. I got to slip that in. He kind of do it a little better, but it's just a mere fact that you do not have to be necessarily innovative in a creative space in order to be successful and dominant. It's all about your moves. But if this was done in any other world besides business, he would be called grimy, a snake. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that stole someone's idea. And Elon taking him to court, supposedly. He's talking about suing him within just the first day of Threads launching. So it's just very interesting to see how different actions in different environments are characterized. In this world, he's great. He's a great businessman. But in another world, he'd be a thief. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that, shouldn't be praised. So, and one thing about Threads that's very interesting is automatically linked into your Instagram account. So if you delete your Threads, you have to delete your Instagram account as well. So that's kind of, I don't really understand that. But sometimes in marketing, you want to get people in your product or range of service, and you want to make it impossible for them to leave. The analogy that I gave earlier is like if you already have an iPhone and everything is linked to your Apple account, 9 times out of 10, you're never going to go to Android because there's going to be a lot of things you're going to lose, a lot of data information, even sometimes pictures that you cannot transfer over if you switch. So in stocks and in another space, we call that moats. Companies have strong moats, which is pretty much offensive and defensive strategies that make them more popular and more needed versus other companies and brands. So you got it.
Oh yeah, man. I'm about to say, man, also be careful of the moats that are around that castle. You never know what's going to be in there. Man. So, anyways, like I was about to say, one thing I also talk about Mark, I said it all the time. Like, listen, he's the type to just buy out things before it has a chance to develop it within, or buy out the developers and have them still build from there. 2 things that I can give you right now 3 things. Well, we have the Twitter duplicate. After that, we had the Reels, which was TikTok. Then after that, we also got to remember we have Snapchat with My Story now. So like the brother just takes things and just, hey, if this works, let me go ahead and throw it over here. Hey, if this works, let me throw it over there. So like I said, sometimes you don't have to really reinvent the wheel, but just make it better. But if you already have a dominating platform, it really doesn't require you to do too much, but just make it more entertaining or make it more, how can you say it, attention grasping. In other words, like to make somebody want to stay there, right? I see people who leave Facebook and stay on Instagram. I see people who got strictly Instagram. I know people who got strictly Facebook, strictly, I'm saying some people are dedicated social media users. Like I've met people who just only have LinkedIn. Like, hey, listen, I don't want to talk to nobody who's not professional. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, everything works to your advantage on how you use it and utilize it. Do you want to go with the next story? Or do you want me to talk about mine?
You can go ahead. Go ahead. Do your.
All right, man. I don't know about y'all, but there was a situation that popped up at over the weekend. This is not a subtopic. I want to talk about Jonah Hill's situation with his ex. The ex screenshot his message and yelled out, "See the misuse in terms, boundaries." The man said this. Let me read real quick. You know what I'm saying? I'm terrible at reading. You know, I was the guy that didn't want to call in the class and read out loud. But whatever. Plain and simple. If you need surfing with men, non-religious, inappropriate friendships with men to model, I talked about this before, especially to model, um, to post pictures of yourself in a bathing suit, to post sexual pictures, friendship with women who are in unstable places, and from your wild recent past beyond getting a lunch or coffee or something respectful, I am not the right partner for you. If these things bring you to a place of happiness, I support it, and there will be no hard feelings. These are my boundaries for romantic partnerships. These are my boundaries for romantic partnerships. These are my boundaries for romantic partnerships. I'm sorry, I had to do that
Say
again.
it with
My,
your chest.
my boundaries with you, based on the ways these actions have hurt our trust. And I talk about it all the time. Y'all want men who have high status, a lot of money, can get you whatever you want, but you don't want to apply by these rules and regulations, these standards, these boundaries. And she said out there, see the misuse of boundaries? Like, no, 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 there was nothing misused. She tried to leak the messages out, and it backfired. Like, bro, he did everything respectful. All he said was like, you got out of line, and I had to let you go. I say this all the time. I have standards and boundaries. You cross them, I'm gonna let you go. It doesn't matter how good you look. No matter how good the coochie feel. No matter how good you do this business. Boundaries is boundaries. Nothing should be crossed when it comes to that. Right? I had a situation there. Talk about this just a small moment. Somebody said, listen, when a man cheat, if he has a good woman at the house, why or why not? One guy put, you have to define what's a good man. I simply put, well, look, if she believes she's single to married, it's not cheating. And I had everybody go up in the uproar right there. I was like, what are you talking about? Y'all are two single people, right? So it's not cheating. It's me. It's just us dating, and I can date out too. That's why one thing I want to tell men right now: if you ever have people who think like that, it's best you not deal with them, or you lace them up from jump. In this relationship, there's nobody else. Otherwise, you get one of those who's single till they're married, and you get played. Hey, that's you, bud.
Right.
But yeah, what did you think about that text message, brother? I want to get that. I want to get that from you.
I totally agree with it. I don't see nothing wrong with that.
At all.
Men are allowed to have standards and boundaries, even if the boundaries are exclusivity, right? Men have to be exclusive, even just in the dating stages, quote unquote. Even in the courting stages, men have to be exclusive in order for you to take that man seriously. 9 times out of 10, competition can be cute and attractive, but after a certain point, once 9 times out of 10, women's feelings get involved, whatever's already rearranged or prerequisite towards us getting a little bit more serious or whatever time period we agreed on, all that's out the window because feelings is involved and I'm yours now. Okay, cool. So that means that's going to come with rules, standards, and boundaries. And it's like nowadays, if a man says rules, boundaries, but anything like that, it's automatically toxic and insecurity speaking. So in order to want to be kept, you have to be of value within that particular space. You always sacrifice something to gain a little bit more, right? That's how it goes. Risk reward ratio, risk aversion. Like you don't become success, and this is the killer part to me. To become successful, women will in modern time do anything to become successful. Sacrifice time, whatever. But when it comes to becoming a wife or just being a person in a relationship, now it's not really that same effort that's implemented into that. So the same energy that we put into being successful, financially stable, getting our degrees. I know a lot of women love those topics. PhDs. I'm a PhD. This has to be the same energy that you implement into relationships, right? And a lot of people will skip that and be like, well, I'll only do that when it comes to marriage. No, you don't get to a marriage without having the relationship structure that's fit for a marriage. A person's not going to give you a position and they don't know what you're capable of. They don't know your potential. They don't know your work habits. You know what I'm saying? All these things are prerequisites for you getting the actual position that you're applying for, whatever the case be. So
Uh-huh.
no one owes you anything, and I think that's very like selfish. No one owes you the opportunity of you being their wife, no shit like that, or somebody being somebody's husband. You work for that, and once you get it, you work for it until you die. That's how that goes. You never stop working.
Man.
All right.
I'm gonna start throwing up gang signs, man. Goddamn, man. That's how you do it, man. That's how you do it.
Bang bang.
Put it all out there in their face, man. Hey, man, said, don't come in here with a blank resume thinking you gonna run this company, man.
Got applicants, baby. You got options.
You gotta apply, baby.
You always got options. All right. So Tony Yayo made a comment. Somebody hit me up with the comment, and they ain't even on social media, so I'm pretty sure it's a little viral at the moment. They said, Tony Yayo said Biggie is a better rapper than Ice Cube. Now, I struck a lot of conversations or whatever. Me personally, the way I broke it down, I feel like Biggie may be a better rapper in a particular flow. If we talking about flow, you know what I'm saying, the ability, just pure rap, yeah, okay, great. But anything outside of that, Cube got me. If we talk about albums, metrics of sales, success, longevity, creativity, artistry, better song making, a lot of those hits that Biggie made, no disrespect to the Biggie fans, I'm a Biggie fan, but we have to implement Puff and a lot of that. And Biggie wrote for people, but Q wrote for an entire group, entire artist, you know what I mean? So a lot of his concepts came from himself. So I say Cube is the better artist, and if you want to say Biggie is the better rapper, I'm fine with that. But people have these kind of conversations all day long. To me, Pac is my favorite artist, but he's not my favorite lyricist. So it's just amazing how people could break down the brackets of rappers in particular spaces. So yeah, I would definitely take, in that sense, I would take Cube over Big, just based on different metrics, longevity, like I said, song making, concepts, writing. I would take Cube over Big. But we're just talking about straight freestyle, put them on the camera, let's go. I take Big all day. You know what I mean? So I'll let you do that.
I mean, yeah, man. You know, I like, hey guys, you know, this one of the moments, like, yo, what do you think, Juice? Man, hey, listen, I'm going with X, man. He did a good explanation right there.
That's my Eminem talk, man. I broke it down to somebody earlier. I'm like, Eminem's a dope rapper, but I never take that from him. But I don't think he's a dope artist. I just don't think he makes great songs, right, that matches his rapping ability. And some people could say that about I love the game, but some people feel like he don't make great songs, but he's a better rapper than a
He
songmaker.
can't make songs, but he can
right,
rap. He can't make songs,
right.
but he can
So
rap.
you just got it. Like I said, I take Cube on that, West Coast on that one. All right. All right. So main event for tonight. Breakfast Club. Damn, I cannot pronounce his name. Can you pronounce his name?
Vivek Ramaswamy.
Right. So this guy's running for president, right? Republican, and he just did a Breakfast Club interview. It was a short interview, and it was pretty negative to me. He got disrespected majority of the time he was there on the platform. I don't even know why they welcomed him to the platform just to disrespect him. But there was a lot of animosity not coming from him. He was very cool, collective, content, just calm. You know what I mean? He came to do his job, speak properly, give his dispositions towards the American economy and things of that nature. But he was disrespected heavily. So it raises the question, do black people just naturally hate Republicans and there's nothing that can be done about that? Do Democrats just naturally hate Republicans and there's nothing that can be rearranged by that? Are we even giving people the chance to exhibit their capabilities to further the nation in a positive trajectory? Or do we just flat out, it's just, I ain't even trying to hear that shit, just based on your political party and your political background, so to speak, that you bring to the table? So that's pretty much my intro to what I saw. Those kind of conversations kind of make educated black people or smart black people, conscious black people, or just conscious minorities, if you want to use that word. I hate that word. It kind of makes us all look back and be like, damn, that really just happened. Like, they just really made themselves look like that. So you got it.
Man, one word. The interview was embarrassing. That interview was embarrassing. I watched that interview about 5 times now, y'all. So the interview's been up for the last 11 days. And it doesn't even have the most views, yet it has the most engagement in comments. I need y'all to go read the comments. I never seen so many African Americans, black individuals, literally embarrass themselves. I don't think
Mm,
y'all understand when it comes to that race talk, or when you work with somebody on another platform from another
mhm,
ethnicity or whatever.
mhm,
You gotta have that respect ground level,
mhm,
right? Listen, what happened right there? Let's say if he was a nation,
mm.
and there were another nation by himself when he walked out, they would have went to war. They would have went to war. They would have went to war.
Hey,
The
so
way
this
they
is
the
done.
way they
Yeah.
went after this man, the way they talked to him, I was like, bro, if that was a bigger level, they would have went to war like right after that. Because
Yeah.
you gotta remember, like when nation leaders come across, if you even do anything disrespectful, somebody from your side touched them.
Mhm,
Hey, it's all up in the air. Even the signs of disrespect on a verbal abuse.
mhm,
I really enjoyed his positioning. I enjoyed a lot of what he said. I understood what he was saying. And some things that me and X have talked about privately amongst ourselves that he wants to put into play. And one of the things that I don't think, one of the things that came into play on the Breakfast Club was they also had a third party individual that was there named Tesla Brown. That situation, I'm going to be honest, men need to know how to tell some women just to be quiet. Or just like, hey, listen, y'all will let
yeah.
people bury themselves
Yeah.
instead of stopping the embarrassment. And y'all gotta understand, y'all are effective as a collective because it's three of y'all. It doesn't matter. Somebody has to be the moderator or the you know what I'm saying, the one who's not the hothead and be able to like, hey, listen, he's talking. Like I
Mhm,
said, that dude got disrespected so bad, but it also worked in his favor because the amount of voters he's now gained because of that. Listen,
mhm,
that video only has about 302,000 views last time I looked at it. There's so
mhm,
many reaction videos to that video alone that they're not already total over 1 million. And the
mhm,
interview is not even at 1 million. So that lets you know how many people were impacted by the disrespect, the display, the respect level, no common grounds, the indecency, the hypocrisy. Like I was just like, man, bro, I never felt really embarrassed like that in a while when it comes from somebody else. But when you're on a bigger platform, you now represent more than
mhm.
yourself. I don't want to be too long
Right.
with it, but just know I got a lot over this thing right here, man. So how you want to start this off, man? How you want to start this off?
Man, one of my favorite Def Comedy jams, Chris Tucker. He came out, he was like, I'm pissed off, man. That's my intro. I'm pissed off, man.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
man. Go ahead, man.
I'm pissed off about a lot of shit. Like, black people, it's amazing. And this is strictly, like, on my Tupac shit, strictly for my niggas at this particular moment. You gotta learn how, like, we could finesse the system. We can carry people on our income taxes that's not really our kids. We could have food stamps on we ain't supposed to have them. We could live tax free. We could finesse the fuck out the system to live in a shop and splurge and do everything possible. We could talk our way in and out of any situation. But when it comes down to being in the political space, we don't know how to finesse at all. At all. You don't even know how to lobby. Like you had a politician, whether he had the potential to win or not. You had a politician within your proximity. Fuck what party he represents. Let's finesse. Let's become friends. Let's become first name basis. Let's become acquaintances. He's on your platform. Let's bring him back to the platform. Let's try to tap like that's how you build relationships and you exist in the political space as a voter.
Mhm.
You want to just vote for people and they just magically do shit that they said they was gonna do for you. Life don't work like that politically. You ain't putting no money in nobody bag. They don't owe you nothing because you what are you doing for them? Like, when JFK said that shit, it's not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He's giving you the political attitude that you have to have in order to make anything happen. The reason you got the banking situations the way they are, to where throughout longevity, the families that restructured the banking system after the collapse of the economy, they're going to be paid for life off the U.S. Federal Reserves, everything, right? Because they didn't just create a system and just leave it at that and figure people owe us something. They lobbied, continued to push and push and push until everything came to fruition. So black people have to have the same energy. I mean, like, we have to get out of the reparation world and get into the working world to where you actually work and make these politicians work for you. It's a give and take relationship. You want somebody to just give to you and just do right because they're supposed to. Like, we from the culture, the streets, like this doesn't happen anywhere. So why would it happen in the political space where it's all about money and you know what I'm saying, and class and everything else?
Resources.
So we finesse backwards. You know what I mean? So for all these people that can live off their family members rent free, for every woman that can get money out of man, for every man that can get money out of woman. Imagine if we took this same energy of finessing into the political space, we'd have everything we want. So that's what struck me, is that you had somebody that you could have built a relationship with because he needs your platform.
Right.
If he didn't need your platform, he wouldn't be there in the first place.
Right.
So you can't disrespect someone of that particular statue, whether you agree with him or not. Shits and giggles. Ha ha. Let me ask him something he can thrive with. You know, I want him to come back to the platform and feel like he's respected and comfortable. He's a politician. So even if he doesn't win, maybe the relationship that you build with him to connect you to another relationship, networking. Your network is your network. And maybe this could, you know what I'm saying, work in your future. But just sitting back voting for people that you like and that you agree with has never been a tactic that has affected the black community or the quote-unquote minority community in a positive aspect. So that was the first disgusting thing that I recognize, is that you had somebody that you could have built a relationship with. Instead, you showed them your ass because there's so much tension between Democrats, Republicans. There's so much tension between the whole quote-unquote minority. Like, people call themselves a minority, but they don't even fuck with all the minorities. You have separate minority groups that don't even come together and be like, yo, collectively together, we're the majority. That's how you stay the minority. I'm done, man. I'm done.
So I'm glad you started off with that, because I thought the same thing. One thing I always learned with even dealing with some of my buddies that's in politics, it's definitely give and take situations. Give and take, and also be able to do trade-offs. So you gave a man a platform, but what did you get out of it? You embarrassed yourself. I was like, all you did was embarrass yourself, right? That platform is going to skyrocket that man for black votes. Like I said, if you read the comments alone, I was just staggered, like, wow. A lot of people felt embarrassed, and like I said, some people don't know how to control their mouths when they're speaking, or just letting a person speak. Every time the man tried to speak and get his thoughts and views out, he got interrupted. Every time the man can't finish. It got to a point, he said, well, listen, y'all brought me to y'all platform, just let me know when I can speak.
Let me know when
I was like, damn, bro. Like, he even had to check himself, like, bro, I'm not even able to share my ideas. I'm getting stopped as I'm speaking. I'm correcting somebody who gave out wrong information about me and my family and the things I follow up. Let me correct that first. They're like, he can't even correct that. It's like, listen, we heard enough. Let's get back to the subject. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, in my mind, when I was watching it, I was just thinking to myself, like, listen, if anybody from his side watches this interview and they have tension towards black people, just know why. I was like, if any other side watches this interview, they're going to have tension for how you treated this man. The man came on, like I said, I don't think y'all understand. This is how tension, this is how prejudice, and sometimes racial things can get built up off of just how y'all handle the situations between each other, especially when it's broadcast. Like, I want to say it was on YouTube. I want to say it was a clip or something. Yeah, I talked about, listen, I became racist because I seen so many people treat my people bad to the point I hated them. Or they could have never shown no respect. They could have shown no common grounds, no decency, no manner, or nothing. I was like, it's to a point where I didn't just want to be around the motherfuckers no more. And I was just like, damn. So it wasn't even directly at him. It was from watching other people So that's what I'm saying. Viewpoints, and how people taking the information, it affects everything. So as I'm watching that as well, like I said, he explained the political part. I'm just doing my little part right now. That was a chance, like you said, you could have got somebody. I would have looked like, listen, the man said he's I forget, $100 million man. If he don't win I forgot how much I forgot it was it. But he's up. Just basically, he's up there. I forgot the exact amount. If he didn't win politics, I've been like, hey, listen, what's some good business ideas that's going on? Right? Listen, you're a businessman. You came from the business world, the medical field as well. What are some things that's going on that I could get into? The man might have gave, if I'm not mistaken, some of them people on that platform trade stocks. He might have gave you a stock. He's like, hey, listen, this stock is going to take off. Like I said, y'all don't think before speaking. And no matter how much I podcast, in the real world, when I'm around certain people, I don't speak at all. It's not my place to speak. It's not my time to speak. When it's time for me to do my imports or share my thoughts and opinions, cool. But till then, I observe before I speak. I make sure my emotions is checked because they don't have no problem like telling you right then and there, like, yo, be quiet. So I do believe we need to have order when it comes to this situation. When any more situations that go on like that. I want to bring up something that was very interesting. Some of y'all know this, some of y'all don't know this. But y'all do know the requirements to be a president is to be a natural born citizen of the United States, 35 years of age, and a resident for 14 years. It never said you had to go in government.
That's all. Okay.
People choose government because that's where the political party is. That's where you start aligning yourself. Hey, I'm going to go conservative, I'm Republican, I'm Democrat, I'm liberal. That's when you should start building up your reputation because majority of the times, people went into government to get aid for their campaigns. Now you got business people who are stepping in politics with no type of government background, political position because they made the money and they understand what they're going to do. She tried to call him out for that. It was like, hey, you didn't work in city council, you didn't be a mayor, or you wasn't a governor, and you just want to jump straight to the top. Who says you can't? That's literally your requirements. And this is why, in that situation, I was like, this woman's not educated on running for a president. Y'all, you try to shit on a situation because you haven't seen him start at the ground and work his way up. Well, guess what? That's a lot of people that do that, even in the business world. Take their family inheritance, something they had already studied, go dump it in somewhere. Guess what? They made it. They'd be like, well, that's their people's money. Who gives a shit? They made it. They got there. So we need to be more cautious of how we're interviewing people, especially over the subject matters. Because like I said, listen, this shit was hella embarrassing. And then she tried to pull, like I said, Ms. Brown was trying to pull civic duty. I don't know if anybody knows what civic duty. I already know. It's a responsibility to a citizen of a town, state, or country that has been because they live and benefit from the services provided to them there. This would be voting, obeying laws, paying taxes, Judy Dury, volunteerism. It's small stuff. She wanted the man to basically give out civic duty on the basis of, I'm still trying to think of what type of civic duty she was talking about. Paying your taxes is already civic duty. We do that all day, every day. But I don't want to be too long-winded on this, but I definitely said, like, yo, this shit was hella embarrassing.
Yeah, just tapping in on what you're talking about. The biggest thing that the black woman brought up in the conversation, she tried to check him on his background necessarily, right? So just pretty much what you were saying, like right now in the space that we're in, I would just simply say from the quote unquote minority aspect of the conversation, what has skilled Democratic people that we voted into office done for minorities, quote unquote, in particular? And I don't mean give with the left and take with the right hand. What have they done in totality? Where they just give and on tape. You feel me? So these are people with background. Joe Biden been in politics since the 70s, and he's had the longevity of calling black people animals, right? To having his input into the crime bill that was written in 1994, right? And y'all love Clinton. That's another conversation. But we have love-hate relationships in our personal lives that we probably shouldn't have, that we probably need to go get evaluated for, while we love and hate some of the people that we have those type of relationships with. But when it comes to the political space, it's all love, no hate, all love. Like, that's so backwards to me. But the people that have the background and the accolades still don't do shit for you. So you should be kind of like 50-50 with that. You should be open to like new opportunities. You know what I mean? Like, if you're in a relationship with somebody and they just don't deliver, no matter how much they give, you're going to kind of be like, oh no, keep my options open. I've been together 10 plus years. Who cares? You're going to have your options open. You're going to look at self-preservation. Why not have the same mentality when it comes to politics? So somebody's background doesn't necessarily make them 100% effective at whatever it is. Somebody could not, like we say it all the time happening in companies, somebody could come from college, never worked a day in their life, and work the company better than somebody else who's been in that company for access of 10 plus years. Sometimes it don't work like that. Sometimes it does. So some people just have that ability to lead. Some people have that ability to effectively point out problems and fix problems. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to have the background for everything 100% of the times. So it's just amazing that she's just stuck at that particular point. Like, if you've never been involved with politics, fuck what she's talking about. You don't even belong here. But
Man, like I said,
go ahead.
yeah, man. I want to talk about a little bit of his vision. He said, listen, he believes that the country is in turmoil from what's going on, right? One thing he said that really caught my attention. He said he wants the ability to. He feels like he may be best to run the country from an outsider looking in, right? Some people be like, well, that doesn't make sense. Only people from the inside know how to run a country. Let me do this. Now remember, every business pays audits and other people from the outside to check their business to get it up and running. So if you got a person from the outside looking in, I'm looking at it on a business perspective at the same time. This will give you a better idea. Because listen, like I said, if I hire somebody who's my staff member, there's a lot of emotional factors from the employees on up, right? Probably do a great job. But see, if I hire somebody who doesn't know a goddamn thing about us, it's easy for them to work because there's no attachment. This is just business. So I do like the way he had pitched that out. He was talking about like he believes in family, nation, and God. He said one thing we got to do is get this country back into a family perspective. I 100% agree with that. I don't know what to tell y'all, but it seems like families is breaking up left and right. People not getting together. Like they said, the increase in people being single is only going up by the years. So he's making
doing her thing, and she ain't wrong. She just split up a family before it even got a chance to become a family 100%. Got stuff like that going on. You know what I mean?
Hey, yes, we're talking about that. And he's like, we need to get back with family. And one thing that really caught my attention, he's like, listen, we need to he said we need to revive. There you go. We can revive the 1776 bill and get this country back on purpose. He said when people don't have purpose, people tend to wander astray. They start doing drugs. They start doing different things. And I learned like over time, yeah, that's really true. When people don't have a purpose, sometimes people look for alternative things and methods that'll get them through the day. Depression, anxiety. But however, if there's something for a person to grab hold to build up, and that was a beautiful thing, as he said you take more value and pride into that than it is when something is given to you. And I was like, yo, man, he's really on to some shit, bro. But yeah, that's how I read it.
Shouts out to the brother Malachi, man. He's been on the platform before.
Man, that's the elder, man. That's the elder.
That's alumni status right there. So yeah, it's just pretty much amazing how black people, out of all people, quote unquote minority people, feel comfortable in people's background and expertise when it comes to being in the political space without looking at just how effective can it be for you personally. You know what I mean? So we have people with extensive backgrounds that have fucked us every chance they've gotten. So experience is kind of, it should be a 50-50 thing that we look at when it comes to being president per se. And even if you look at the whole like bloodline of presidency, it's some type of relation. So 9 times out of 10, it's the same family or the same multiple families that take office. A lot of people don't even take that into account when they look at people's background and resume, quote unquote. Um, Another conversation that we could talk about in this one is the affirmative action perspective of the conversation, to where he got drilled because his family was immigrants. He's not an immigrant, right? And they went to school, right, based on the ruling of affirmative action. Now, affirmative action just got ruled against recently. And there are some black people or minority people that are in favor of it being ruled against because separate but equal is what we were given, quote unquote. Separate but equal, but it's not equal. It's never been equal. That's the illusion of inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
So there are black people or minority people that go to these HBCUs, right? You had the ability to go to the school or go to whatever school. Let's say you went to a HBCU, going back to that point, how much do you get back? See, we'll focus on affirmative action, but we don't look at the actions that we affirm ourselves. We don't look at that. You're looking at what's going on above you, right, beneath you, but you're not looking at what you're doing. We have multi-millionaire, billionaire people that attended HBCU colleges, Puffy, all these other people, but how much do they give back to the HBCUs to make sure that they're equal, quote unquote? So a lot of the times we get confused with access, but we don't look at quality. You feel me? So if I let you, quote unquote, get a restaurant, they got a restaurant, whoever the day is, whoever your ops is. The fact that you can have the same thing necessarily doesn't mean it's of the same standard and quality. So you can't be fooled by that. So the only way we can compete with the quality is if people that attend these college, well, even if you don't, we have so many black people, Jalen Rose, uh, he got his own school. His biggest thing that he said that he sees is that it's a lot of black entertainers, quote unquote, that come from the community that don't fuck with him. They're not donating money. And he said, I'm not supposed to ask necessarily, but that's something that he brought up into his conversation. It's sad. We're looking at things like affirmative action, but we're not taking the actions that we need to ourselves. So shouts out to people like Jalen Rose, LeBron James, Dr. Umar supposedly finally got his school
He said,
running or doing whatever, supposedly. I don't know.
he said
But
supposedly.
these are things that needs to take place versus people just sitting back, bitching and complaining about rights, quote unquote, that's given and taken from us. Look, you have your unalienable rights, which is your rights bestowed upon you based on by your creator, right? That shit get violated in court every day. By the U.S. Constitution, if you're black, quote unquote, you're 3/5 of a man. So people don't look at constitutional laws, unalienable rights. We don't look at all this shit. And this shit is violated on a day-to-day basis. So we just have to keep these types of things in mind. Separate but equal, but you've never been quote unquote equal. So the only way to monopolize that is for success. Like we have more people that's mad that Mr. Primetime went off outside of an HBCU, but he even said it when he was coaching for the HBCU and doing all these types of things, he still didn't get the support.
You get
And
everything out of pocket.
his own players was disrespecting him, robbing him, doing all that type of shit. So if philanthropy is going to be the thing for black people or the successful black or the bourgeois black people, okay, they do their part. What are we doing on the lower end to make sure that it's an even exchange and it's a relationship, whether it's reciprocity? We have to respect the people that we want to network with to change our living condition when it comes to that whole space of HBCUs thriving or whatever. So I just have to throw that in there, man. The whole affirmative action thing, I'm not really feeling it.
You say you're not really feeling it, throwing it out, or keeping it.
Keeping it because it's an illusion. To
No,
some people,
that's
can
real.
access, and that's what they were saying in an argument with Buddy when he went to the platform. His parents benefited from it, but he said, "My parents went to school, but they still worked.
Yeah,
Like
he said
outside
everything
of
is
the
about work ethic.
opportunity, they still work. Like just because somebody give you an opportunity, don't mean you don't have to work the opportunity and work outside of the opportunity to create another opportunity.
Mhm.
Your work never stops. If you just want an opportunity that you don't really have to work that hard in, and somebody giving you something on top of giving you an opportunity, you're a lazy piece of shit. You're not putting in the work. If somebody else is out working you, and that's what he was saying, I want to build a nation of workers. I want to
Work
bring that back. People that work, not just physical laborers, all different types of labor, but he said his parents worked on top of just having an opportunity. So sometimes we get wrapped up in opportunity so much that we forget to work. So if somebody give you an opportunity, you would show your appreciation by working. That's how that works. Like, you
right.
got it.
Right now, when it comes to further action, he threw out there something that was really big that people overlook. Um, he said the immigrations. He said the immigrants that benefited wasn't from y'all's people. It came from Kennedy's actions. I
Mhm,
was like, yes. I was like, he brought that up. I was like, that was a big thing that Kennedy ended up doing.
mhm,
Was with the immigrations that came with that were all outsiders of the United States who was able to benefit.
mhm.
So like, no, you didn't even get the benefit from that. And one thing she said that was really stupid to me is like she said, I don't believe in your, you talk in a very visionary type of platform perspective. I'm very direct. I'm very straight to the point. Uh, and she was talking about his vision. I was like, you must not know who Kennedy was. Kennedy was the dreamer. They talk about it to this very day. The dreamer. He was the visionary. He always had a grand vision of what the country could look like. If anything, I think I forgot how they used to explain his presidential term, but basically it was supposed to be the American dream based on his actions, the way he was talking, his charisma. He wanted people's visions and you know what I'm saying, to wake up from that. And I was like, yo, man, she might not have really studied shit because she's just saying shit. And it's really showing up every time she's speaking, right? She like I said, she was talking about like what type of leadership roles did he have? He said, listen, I was a student counselor. I done led companies. He said, I led volunteer groups in the medical field. I have 5 medicines that were approved by the FDA. One is life saving for kids. If they don't have it over by the age of 3, they'll die. It increased by 70%. He has a prostate cancer medicine. And she immediately said, I'm not talking about your profits. I'm not talking about your rewards. I'm talking about your civic duty to humanity. I said, holy shit, that really fucking happened. Did she not just hear what he just said? A man's curing lives, and you're talking about, did you ever was you ever part of student council? And I was like, yo, man, like I
Right about the wrong thing.
said, I was just embarrassed, like, okay. And one thing I want to bring up is something he said. He said, listen, some of the things I did were for selfish reasons. And she heard him and snapped at him and was like, well, see, you're telling me you're a selfish person because having civic duty, you can't be selfish. Listen, I'm going to be as blunt as I can. Even though I've been trying to keep myself clean for a lot of time. Listen, fuck what you talk about. People always do shit for themselves. I know I do. There's a lot of things I do for myself that's going to help me in the longevity of things. 100%. Everybody thinks people is just doing things for free. All right, cool. Live off the land for fucking free. Then, if you're really onto that level of volunteerism, giving back and all that, listen, just do everything for free. You went to the military. She said she went to the military. Why you just go for free then? If you really love giving back. And I was like, and the thing she said that really bothered me the most was like, see, I couldn't follow you because being a leader is a selfless act. I was like, I don't know if you know what leaders have done. There's definitely some selfishness in some shit they do. So sometimes it's for ego perspective. Sometimes it's for the basis for other people to look at them and acknowledge what they've done with the group of individuals they're with. I was like, bro, what are you talking about? But like
Mhm.
I said, that interview showed me there was a different agenda that was going on, and not really hearing this man out. So, what did you think about that situation over what I just discussed, man?
She kept saying that if bro did any type of service that's related to the country specifically, that everything he did as far as service and philanthropy, it was based on his personal gain. And it was like, okay, well, did you not hear him say? He said, look, first off, I'll be honest. What I did in school, as far as service, it was for my personal gain. He said, look, that's what everybody does in school.
Build up their resume.
That's what you're supposed to do. All right.
Yeah.
Getting past that, when he said I created medicines, I created companies, I was like, pause, hold up, wait. When he said he created medicines for kids and all these different type of things that saves lives, I'm like, that's philanthropy at its finest. Just because, see, service is a loaded word, especially for people that's been to the quote unquote service. You get tricked and mind fucked into thinking that the only way you can serve your nation is within the political space or military service. Those are not the only ways. If you're making a nation a better place, if you're making your community a better place, if you're whatever improvements you're making towards society is service. It's a loaded word. And she kept saying what he's doing for service is selfish. I'm like, shawty, look, people don't go to the military nine times out of 10 because they're so patriotic and they just want to defend this loving country.
No.
They go because of economic crisis. They go because of poverty. That's a way to get a paycheck and get a career. Get the fuck out of here thinking that people go to the service just because they love that shit. Now, if that's within your family lineage, your generations and whatever, that's a different topic. That's another discussion. But majority of the people that's in the service are there because of poverty. That's self-gain. You're just sacrificing your life, right, within the potential of the exchange that you may live and live a better life for yourself and for your family. And at the same time, your country can benefit. But let's not play these games like people do that just for their country 100% of the times. So I'm like, look, you fall into the same category as how you're judging him.
Yeah.
It's just you're doing it from a different perspective, different angle. So you can't connect the dots. But I'm just like, wow, okay, that's happening. But if the man says that he's a successful businessman, people really don't understand this. A lot of people feel like millionaires and billionaires should pay more in taxes. Millionaires and billionaires should give to the homeless. They should do all these different things. And I totally disagree, because if they don't create that company, if they're not innovative, that means thousands, hundreds, or maybe millions, depending on how big the company is. That means that amount of people don't eat. They don't get a paycheck. So we're not giving them their credit on what they're doing to contribute towards the better advancement of society and humanity.
Giving people jobs. That's service alone.
That's service alone.
Like, bro,
You feel me?
it's
So
crazy.
we think service is a warped mentality. It's a crippled mentality. You think services give you a handout and put my face on it. I built the fucking brand. I built the company. And for people that feel like individual successful people should do something to fix homelessness, poverty, all these different types of things that was set up by the system, are you asking the hedge funds that run every company down there that's heavily invested into your top companies to do that? No, because you don't even know they exist, because you don't even study these types of things. So you're putting pressure on individuals. They're looking at generational wealth. They come from nothing, or they come from something. They're looking at 10, 15, 20 years ahead. Who's going to eat off of what I'm doing now? And you want them to just give their shit to some people they don't even know. They have a different type of relationship towards the things that you consider a crisis and service, right? Because they're doing their service by being innovative. So we just have to really be careful of what we're asking from people. You're asking for people to get not just a left hand dirty or a right hand dirty, but they got to get their whole arms dirty. They got to get their legs dirty. Like, how much do you expect from one person just because they quote unquote run a business or company, or they quote unquote made it? We have it even on a low end. Just let one of your family members make 90K, 100K. Y'all gonna want everything from that fucking family member. They never gonna be able to build a family, uh, successfully run the family, live their life, go on vacation. You see them do anything, they automatically owe you something because they got it in abundance. That's what you're thinking in your mind. But that's not abundance because they going to work for that shit. Even if they could just give you a conversation and give you information that can motivate you and push you, that's help. They don't have to give you money to help you. They don't have to pay for your business adventures to help you. They're helping you just by being here and being a model of what you can do and what you can be. So it just really struck me when she's kept criticizing him on his lack of service or his lack of his better advancement of
Personal
humanity.
attacks, man. She did a lot of personal attacks.
Yeah. And
And
just
then
because she
it
didn't do
didn't
it,
feel right when he called out personal attacks. He's like, yo, you're doing a personal attack.
but just
Like,
because she didn't do it, but I just want to say this last thing. Just because she didn't say the word black, she thought she was being clever. And she didn't mention race. She just found another creative way to implement race, but not say black or race. So she brought it up on a level of class and his philanthropy, quote unquote, or service or lack thereof. So you got it.
no, it was definitely a lot of racial things that was getting thrown out. Remember, the whole time he was an immigrant, and she kept reminding him, "Hey, my ancestors built this country," and I was like, "Yo,"
So
uh, I was like, "Yo, you just indirectly saying things," but we understand what you're getting at, right? Remember, most of the time, people are looking at when politicians walk into the Breakfast Club. Hey, this is really what they want to know. What are you going to do for black people?
mm-hmm.
That's really bottom line what it is. Like you can have everything, but hey, listen, we just want to know, like, hey, what are you gonna do for black people? Bottom line. That I honestly believe they were trying to get to that point, but the fact that he had some things that were set in stone that was kind of against it, like the further action, and some other things that he was saying. I feel like that's why they kind of felt the way they felt. Like I like the idea of what he was like. Listen, you should take tests. Before you can vote, right? Before the age limit to vote was 21 before 1971. Then it became 18. And what he pitched out was like, listen, I believe everybody should take a test to understand politically what you're getting involved in. He said things that are given, you don't appreciate. But when you earn it, you appreciate it better, right? You know, I'm going to make you laugh real quick. When you get the coochie. Something, you know what I'm saying? Something you earn and get taken back. You're trying to get back with it. So there's a different perspective of what you're going to do in order to get back in her good graces. It's one of those types of situations. You learn to appreciate what you have when you almost lost it or when you lose it. That's why people cry, got letters, social media posts, they making all this thing. Like, hey, listen, man, I might be doing something. Maybe I should do something else. Maybe I should talk about it. But anyway, I am talking though. One of the things, like I said, she tried to belittle him when he said, she was like, when the last time, when did you vote? He said, the first time I voted was in 2020. She was like, so you just been sitting around and ain't been doing that? I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Did she just say that man been sitting around? And I was like, yo, the disrespect. It's funny because every time, listen, black people get disrespectful the minute they tell you they're not trying to get disrespectful.
Hey, look, I
Hey,
don't
listen to
mean
my
to.
line, bro.
That's the easiest way.
Hey, she said straight up, listen, I'm not trying to be disrespectful any moment in time. I'm not trying to do this. She did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
That's
no, if you're going to be genuine, you just be genuine.
straight
If you feel
up, like she claimed to be. She claimed to be straight up.
yeah, better be straight up. No, man, like I was like, yo, that's why I said what I said. If that was a nation situation, we would have went to war. I'm telling you right now, the way they did that, man, we would have went to war. And one thing he said, like, you got to take tests in order to be able to vote. I actually do like that idea. I literally have sent somebody the same video, and she actually had the opposite. She was against what he said. Like, yeah, he didn't really say too much, and I didn't like the fact that he said like you got to take tests in order to vote. And I was like, okay, you voted before. She was like, yes. I said, okay, cool. Could you tell me the three branches of government? She's like, no. I don't know, are you serious? She said, no. I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to leave it alone. I said, okay, do you feel like we're more are African Americans, Black individuals more educated on politics when it comes to voting, or we only straight vote because that's what all we know? She's like, we're less educated. Okay, so if we're understanding politics right now, that we need to be educated to understand the different branches, the different government positions, and why some people uh, have. That's what I said. I always say start with your local government first before even going, to the next stage, to your state, then whatever the nation. That's something that you should be able to understand. I said, and this is the thing, they're in high school. That means this is fresh on their fucking brain. If you didn't know the three branches in high school while you're in high school, I don't fucking know, bro. I just don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. But and then he said in return, like, listen, okay, let's say if they don't pass the test at 18, how about you just serve in within one of the military branches for 6 months, and you gain your right to vote right there. That's your civic duty back to her. I said, bro, that shit is genius. I'm sorry, that is genius to me. You gotta remember, in other countries, listen, it's mandatory. You serve a year in the military, you go to jail for life. We don't talk about that though. They got hey, listen, they got trained killers for a year. and we got some. Well, we don't even have that much, bro. It's just hey, hey
That's another conversation.
we got UFC. We got UFC.
Hey, look, I totally agree with that. Voting is not necessarily it shouldn't be something that's given to you by right. It should be something you work for, or that you have the knowledge for. These three branches of government. It's very interesting that a lot of people that stress voting 100% of the time don't even know what they're voting for, right? So a lot of people had this notion, this comment of if you don't vote, you can't have input within the conversation of how things turn out. Well, everyone is affected by the economy. Everybody's affected by what transpires. Voting necessarily doesn't even really give you the result that you vote for 100% of the time if you're not educated on the voting process, right? So we've seen it happen in plenty. Well, one famous vote, you have presidents that win the presidential election without winning the popular vote. The electoral college actually like controls that situation. So the popular vote, it means something, but it doesn't mean something at the same time. But if you don't know what you're voting for, it's going to be a problem. Like, I even had the same conversation with people in the religious space. Like, how can you claim to be religious 30, 40, 50 years old and you never read the book? Like, you don't even pray. You don't do anything. You just go to church one day, not even one day a week. Let's call it for real what it is. People go to church on holidays, 9 times out of 10. Right? They give God a little bit of their time.
It's a high percentage, man.
Say Jesus, say whatever, and they good money. No one wants to work anymore, and that's pretty much what he was saying. So in order to vote, you should work. And it's not just enough that your ancestors built this country. No, it's not just enough, because you just really have to pay attention to what's going on. Malcolm X did a famous speech, Ballad of the Bullet, so he was totally against the whole political system, voting and all that. And then you have these same conversations that's taking place today right now. We had a personal conversation. It's like, look, Martin Luther King was a Republican, but the whole civil rights bill was passed through the Democratic Party, and a lot of people don't really understand the history of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. That's another conversation. But you should be educated on whatever you get involved in. You have a lot of people. Let's take it to the fitness world. Let's just rearrange it so you understand it. Somebody asked me earlier, look, should I just go keto? No, you shouldn't just go keto, because if you go keto to get into shape, what's going to happen is if you ever reintroduce carbs again, you're going to automatically gain the fat back times 10, because however you get in shape is however you stay in shape. So a lot of people, oh, I'm vegan. Well, some person was like, well, vegan people got health issues. Correct, because you still have vitamins, minerals, nutrients. A particular lifestyle doesn't mean that you get all those three in abundance. You still have to be educated on how to get vitamins, minerals, nutrients. A particular diet doesn't guarantee you anything. So we live in a society to where we want all these guarantees without education. Education is primary.
Let's go.
All right. So education comes with critical thinking,
Mhm.
right? The ability to properly analyze decisions and information and data.
Mhm.
So I hate when people say, well, fuck it, I ain't even gonna say it, but you never graduate. You never you're never done with education because self-education is the longevity of your lifespan, whether it comes to health, religion, God, uh, the nation, whatever you want to call it, economics. All this is based on education. So you should read and study and develop your mind every day. So that's the vibes that I got from dude when he was talking about the right to vote. Either you work for it physically, well, you're going to work for it physically either way. Either you go to the service and you get a connection, right, with the whole entire system and the country, right, in the form of patriotism, or you actually are educated. So they asked DJ Envy, or he asked Charlemagne, do you know the three branches of government? Everybody on the platform said no. Like,
The
wait,
cameraman
what?
do it. The cameraman do it. And he said, "Yeah, because everybody out there." But and I talked about
Legislative, executive, judicial. Like, and I've never voted, but I know that much. So these are the problems that we have, right? Self-education goes a long way. Um, let's do this part of the conversation.
that.
The importance of relationships. I got to double back on that.
Okay.
We only build relationships now in modern time based on people that agree with us in totality, and that's a conflict, right? You build relationships based on people that agree and disagree with you, so you have different types of relationships. You never know who you're going to need in certain situations, and that's what cripples Black people, quote unquote minorities, in the political space is you don't know how to properly network. You need people on both sides. What Ice Cube did, he went to one party, boom, they shut the door. He went to the next party, boom. I
No.
don't care who gets this thing passed. I just need it passed. And then who pushes it through, then I give you my loyalty. I give you my vote. You have to work for it. That's the way networking works. You don't only do business with who you agree with necessarily. America wouldn't be America if that was the case. There was a lot of things that transpired, right, on different types of levels just to make us the nation that we are today. So that goes back to education. You can't really become a successful business owner unless you study the companies that came before you to see what mistakes and what things that they do properly. Now, if you just have a product that's popping and in demand, that's another yeah, you can eat off that. But if you want to be within the circle of the greats, you have to study the greats. So self-education goes a long way. You got it.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to, like I said, getting involved with the people I'm involved in, one time I had to remind somebody. We was at a party, and there was none of the Republicans there. And the first time when I was like, man, I'm around all these Republicans, I said, hey, man, I'm not here for that shit. I'm here to come network and make some friends, bro, and make some trade-offs. If I'd had that conversation with that person, I don't think that person would have moved the same way. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? You already one-sided because you're the opposite of the individuals there, and not actually just making that conversation with people, right? Um, even in the political parties like this, let's say a Democratic Party, right? When you join, they still expect you to align with one of the candidates there. Nobody likes a person who's just there and doesn't align themselves. However, even when your candidate loses, they still push the whole party because at the end of the day, it's still a collective, right? That's why when you see uh, different candidates debate, they get at it, get personal, be cutthroat with each other. Then when they lose, they're like, all right, well, hey, listen, good job, LA. At least win for the party. Like, you know what I'm saying? Y'all don't even understand that yet. Like, listen, we're going to go out here, we're going to give them a show. Win or lose, I'm still going, hey, I got to push you out there because guess what? We represent the same party. If you want to get even more technical, Kamala Harris is the one who pushed the networking behind a lot of the decisions that I see in this country, right? What did she do? She went to a sorority. She started. She went to a black, like I said, she went to sorority. She went to the black colleges. She started going to the black women. She went to LGBT things. I seen her network her ass off. Maybe she made alliances with some Hispanics. I was like, I seen her network her ass off. even like I said, we don't know if she wanted to do it or not, or if she really wanted it. Like they said, sometimes self-interest is for the bigger game. So y'all think everybody who does all this stuff really just does it for the heart? Absolutely no. I remember watching a situation with one of the mayors, right? I'm gonna say this person. One of the mayors. What he would do, there'll be situations where, let's say, somebody in government died. What he does, he'll show up, read the obituary, go up there, make a speech about the individual. He never talked to this fucking person in his life. But once he makes that speech, they're like, man, I see why I made you mayor. yo, I don't know what's going on. And they'll do that over and over and over. See, there's gains in it for them overall, as well as the ability to connect with individuals there. Because once you have somebody reach out to you, people feel like they want that alliance with you. But, hey, listen. Sorry, y'all right
Yeah, yeah, good work, good work. One of my last things is they let Joe Biden come to that same platform and show his ass. You have 1994 crime bill, him calling black people animals, um, somebody that's been in politics over a lengthy period of time, and they didn't have that same energy towards him. I just feel like that's your opportunity to speak for a multitude of people, right? That's the same skin color or come from the same environment that you come from, void of color, right? Quote unquote minority, that's the term. It's terrible. You don't allow a person to come to that type of platform and you don't ask them, what's your black agenda? What are you going to do for black people specifically? What are you going to do for minorities, quote unquote? What are you going to do for like the working middle class citizen? Like, what is your strategy for these type of people? What is the agenda? What is the plan? It's sad because it's already a preconceived notion, which means the stage is already set based on how you think or view something. So Joe Biden come, your guards is down. Let's laugh, talk, and welcome him in with open arms.
now. Man,
And he's the person that's fucking you the most. But somebody that hasn't really fucked you yet, we're gonna have our guards up because it's unfamiliar territory. This is like, ladies, when you break up with your boyfriend because he ain't no good, and then you still got options, but you still go back to your ex to have sex because you don't want no new bodies.
One of the new bodies.
Oh shit! I'm a professional, man. I do this.
You do this,
It's
man? Hey, listen, I do
chaotic.
this too, man.
It's
Hey,
chaotic.
man, I think I was wrong for that, man. I set that up
It's chaotic. You feel me? So
right.
you gotta dead the chaos in order to give birth to things that actually prosperity, you know what I'm saying, things that function and work. You gotta give death to the chaos. So allowing Joe Biden to come to that same platform with open arms was psychotic. But here's a Republican that comes to your platform that's never been involved in politics, and you drill him. You you made sure that man knows he was not welcome. So that's just my thing. Like, we have to be careful who we welcome into our homes just based on culture, what are the traditions or whatever. That's when you have to rewrite your system of culture and traditions, because sometimes that can work against you. That's why we always say sometimes you have to do a comparative study, right, of common customs to see what works and what doesn't work. But if you just keep the same cycle, minorities or Democrats, you're never going to get nothing out of that, right? So the Hispanic community, I give them that shout out. They're actually one of the people that broke out and said, look, no, fuck that. If you want our vote, work for it. Do something for us in particular, and we'll give you our vote. That's how it works. So
That's how it works.
if I know you're going to give me your vote every time and I ain't got to do nothing for you, I'm never going to do it for you. That's just this is how it is, man. So,
All
yeah.
right. Last thing on my end, it's gonna be a little long. Is one thing via Ramaswamy was saying was versus Charlamagne the God. It was talking about bashing bashing the system versus the country, right? Everything Charlamagne was talking about was systematically, not systematic, but white supremacy. And I remember the situation he was saying. He was like, well, look, y'all bashing the country and not the system. Like that was one of the things. He said, I want to change the system. Like, that's cool, but at the same time, trying to change the system, if you're bashing the country, then you're not going to have people around the country wanting to change the system. You know, is you got to get everybody on a core in order for things to change. That's what he said. Like, for all this to happen, it involves all of us communicating with each other for a system to change. And that was something that I did like that he had said, because I understood it wholeheartedly. Like he said, JFK, what can you do for your country? That's one of the biggest things. It's like everybody has to be one of the contributing factors to it. There was another part in it that just slipped my mind that I was gonna run with. Uh, but other than that, that was just the last part. Just that
Mm.
part. What did you think about the? Oh, that's what I was gonna go on. So when he was talking about affirmative action at the same time, something that really threw me off that Charlamagne did, it shocked me and it shocked him at the same time. He was like, "Well, yeah, if you get affirmative action, next thing you know, somebody from your side gonna say nigga." I was like, "Yeah, did he really just do that?" And the way he looked at it was like, I mean, like, I would hope not. If it does happen, I would condemn them. And I was like, whoa, well, he never did that with nobody else. And it was just like I said, you can see the one-sidedness that came in, and
Mm.
that's gonna always be a problem when you can't see things from multiple sides. Like I said, you should be able to argue your side as well as against your point of view at the same time well enough. And that's how you get a better understanding. So, but other than that, I was like, I don't think none of them was trying to understand anything. Trust Miss Brown, man. Listen, she'll go down in history, bro. I'm not gonna lie. She gonna go down in history over that shit.
Um, okay, look, this is where I gotta kind of side with the platform. You can't separate the system from the country, quote unquote, because let's keep it G. The country, before it was a system, the system was slavery. That's how it was created. Uh,
Mhm.
People came over here, stole the land from indigenous
Correct.
people, right? A lot of those people that kind of like stayed, some of them stayed in position. A lot of them got wiped out. Some of them moved to Florida, so to speak. That's where you have the Seminole culture. Um, so it was built on slave labor. The first things, commodities that was traded on Wall Street, quote unquote, the market, all that came from slave labor. So the system was built around the birth of the country. And those are the fundamental building blocks that America would never trade off, sad to say, right? Keeping, quote unquote, black people, minorities, quote unquote, and that's going to change based on uh, demographics pretty soon on the whole minority talk because the quote unquote Hispanic culture will outpopulate the quote unquote black minorities. So that's going to change the whole minority conversation and power, right? But just keeping it on those fundamental basics, if a nation is built off slave labor and blood, right, blood money, it's never going to be clean. So the whole illusion that we can fix the system, quote unquote, it's it's an oxymoron. It was never built to be fair, quote unquote, right? The judicial system is not a fair system. The
Mhm.
stage is already set. Like you have redlining, you have all these different things that keeps uh, people separated, uh, void of opportunities based on race and then based on class. The
Mhm.
race issue always comes first before it's a class issue. That's just how the nation was built. Even studying the Emancipation Proclamation, you actually find out there were over like 5 or 6 Emancipation Proclamations. But you're sold on this narrative that it was one that just fixed everything. Like, so we just have to
Right.
reevaluate history in order to see the trajectory of where we're going. But we don't understand history enough to come to these types of conclusions as black people, quote unquote. So this is it might have been a nation built by us, but it was never a nation built for us. And even right, when we were included in those conversations, like you have the Negro Act of, I believe, 1776, I want to say, to where it was like, look, we're just going to slave all y'all. Because there were black people that owned slaves prior to that. There were black
Hmm.
people that weren't enslaved automatically. There were, you know what I'm saying? So different types of conversations, you know what I'm saying? But if free labor built the country, how do we expect to get a seat at the table when that was our position to build it and never get the compensation of building it? A lot of people talk about Black Wall Street. Now I keep it brief. There were over hundreds of Black Wall Streets. Now that's your rivers, your dams, bodies of water. People got murdered,
Oh,
flooded out. Their
it's
whole shit is
13
just
points.
flooded out. You know what I mean? So that's why I gotta kind of like side with the panel. It's interesting to see people from different ethnicities have these conversations. Like, let's heal the nation. Let's just fix this. Let's talk about it. Like, fam, we passed that. You know what I'm saying? It's important to build relationships, but I don't think that should be the conversation in building the relationships. Let's first build the Let's cut the bullshit. Let's build the relationships so I can understand you and you can understand me. Let me see your world, you see my world. Then I don't even have to have that type of conversation on how do we move forward and fix this, because you have experience. You have a culture shock in my world, and I have culture shock in your world. And even like what a lot of people say, well, my ancestors enslaved you. I didn't do it. Okay, but you still reap the benefits of it. Let's just keep it G. White supremacy is not just a structure that benefits white people within America. You have the Arab slave trade that happened before the transatlantic slave trade. You have different things that transpire. The Jews financed slavery, right? They're the ones that made it possible for the ships to even be built in the first place. So this is not, when people say white supremacy and they just look at white people, that's not where it stops. So, you know what I mean? So before we can have these heal the world conversations, let's be educated on history, and let's just build relationships with people so you care about me as a human being and you don't just care about my vote, and you're not just doing whatever it takes to get my vote. And you know what I mean? So I don't want to have the illusion of conclusion at all. Let's just sit down and heal the world type shit. No. I'm gonna have to experience your world, you're gonna have to experience mine. My kids meet your kids, whatever. However these relationships are built, now we have a connection that's built on something that actually matters. That's substance, a relationship, versus let's just have an exchange of words. Like, I'm not with that. So I agree with them on that part. We can't just separate the system from the country, because the system is what made the country, and that's what's going to keep the country running. And if we take it past race and put it towards class, we just skipped over the fact that quote unquote black people make up 11, 13% of the population, but they have $1 trillion in spending power, right? That goes back to the system. And it goes back to the country. It goes back to both. Can't separate it. And then if we go back to class, the middle class is what holds everything up, the system and the country. So we're never going to give the middle class person a fair shot at wealth, because if they get a fair shot at wealth, what happens to the economy? If the middle class citizen, no matter what color he is, if he's not working and spending the majority of his money on the system, then what happens to the infrastructure of the system? We can't have a bunch of billionaires and millionaires and entrepreneurs walking around. Then somebody got to do the work, somebody got to do the labor. So let's just keep it G. It's never going to be even. So let's just build relationships. That's how I look at it.
Okay. So, with everything you just said, you said you was against or for affirmative act.
Um, I would say against. Separate but equal is never going to be equal, quote unquote. As
Okay.
long as they're separate, it's going to be better and it's going to be worse.
Okay. 'Cause I'm going by what you had said initially from what you're saying now with the system
Mhm.
base. And I'm like, hold on. Okay, that's interesting. So that's why I was just trying to make sure I heard you correct when you just talk about affirmative action. But no, I ain't got nothing else to really go deep into detail right there. So you saying fix the system before the country or move the country and the
None
system?
of this,
What are you
of
saying?
it's gonna, none of it's going to, you can't separate the system from the country, because the system is what birthed the country. They
Okay.
both feed off
So
each other. They're not separate entities.
okay. So you do understand when he was speaking on that, he's all for changing the system at the same time. I don't know if you heard the whole.
Yeah, I did, and I even listened to him speak with another guy that you mentioned, man. And he spoke about some things that like he's actually talking about going after certain hedge funds and doing all these types of things,
Going out
and I'm cool with
the
that.
FDA, even the same FDA that approved his patent, he's talking about the corruption within the corporation. He's talking
Right,
about getting all deep down within the nitty gritty of what keeps the country corrupt, and also keep other people winning from the corruption,
right,
which we
but
do.
right. But what I'm saying is, in America, without
Mm-hmm.
the corruption, you don't have America. America thrives and was birthed off corruption. So without the
So shouldn't touch the system.
what I'm saying is,
I,
that's not that angle. Okay,
listen.
look, what I'm trying to say is, I don't aim for the highest apex of a problem. Start from the bottom and I work my way up.
Go.
Some people just you can't chase the wind. So what I'm saying is trying to fix a system and fix the country. Look, fuck all that. What I'm saying is going back to what we were saying. First, from a personal perspective, let's build relationships on that level. And then once we build communities and society, reconstruct that, now we can have relationships that benefit the collective. That's how we fix whatever we can fix. But if you're trying to just fix the system and or the country, it's never going to happen because it's a doggy dog world. In order for somebody to make $1 million, somebody got to do the labor. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not with this whole beautiful conversations that sound good. It's just a lot of words. Let's just start with personal gain, work it into a collective system to where we build communities, and then from there, as communities, we thrive. You don't see Asian people getting executive orders passed in their favor, and they saying, "Oh, well, what about the system?" It doesn't happen like that.
But
We're the only group of people that's talking about the system in the country. Nobody else gives a fuck about that. It's how does the system and the country benefit our group as a collective, right? So that's what I'm saying. Build the relationship first, then you have favor. You have a seat at the table. But I'm not with the whole let's just talk about it and fix it because it's never going to get fixed.
all right. I mean, I'm still looking
A
at it.
millionaire and a billionaire got more loopholes to not pay taxes than a person on earned income. The person on earned income is what's going to keep the economy thriving and booming. So he got to pay taxes and do all these different types of things, right? And the millionaire
Right.
and the billionaire that makes more money gets the loopholes. Who's going to fix that? Nobody. Like, let's just keep it real. No one's going to fix that. You just work your way to that status and you learn the loopholes as well. That's how it works.
All right. I was about to say, but you was talking about the Asian and crime deal.
Mhm.
One of the major things that we just learned the other week. We was talking about Dr. Umar Johnson. He said, as a collective, you got to be tied to something. One of the ways we're not tied to nothing. So how do you fix it?
Well, um, in that space, since we're not tied to anything, that's why I kept bringing up relationships. If you don't get a collective body of,
My fault, my fault, my fault. When he was talking about uh, what is your motherland? Like motherland, your home, your country,
nationality,
nationality.
nationality,
That's what he said. So if we have all of us is a different nationality or whatever you want to call it, then it's. I mean, you know what? This question. All right, I'm not really trying to make this episode go longer. That's a whole different story, man. 'Cause
yeah.
we're gonna be at it for a good minute on this. Oh man. But yeah, go ahead, finish the statement, then we can wrap it up.
That's pretty much it. I was just really out of everything. I was just really focused on relationships. How do we build political relationships? Um, and I feel like if we're going to take the minority perspective or black perspective, you need relationships on both sides. Let's just let's just be honest, ladies. If you're out there dating, you're single until married, you're gonna find the best option for yourself available until
My
you
head popped up
get
real quick.
the candidate that best suits your agenda. Same thing with the fellas. Hopefully, if you have value, you got options as well. You're going to pick the best suitable candidate. This is how it works in the political space. You don't get everything you want from one side. You have to play both sides. You know what I'm saying? Like, what we know where we come from. We play both sides against each other until we win and do all that. Let's keep the same energy when it comes to politics. That's all I'm saying. Like, out of all that, I just feel like we really don't have a wide range of perspectives on how we view relationships, especially in the political space. So sometimes you're gonna do deals with quote unquote um, the goods of the world. Sometimes you're gonna do them with the quote unquote evils of the world. Um, you just really gotta learn how everything thrives and prospers within humanity. So yeah, you gotta really just key in on that types of things. Don't let no one take you away from an opportunity and it's already a preconceived notion. I talked to a guy earlier, black guy, older guy, and he was like, "Man, the economy is fucked up." So I was gonna go in. I say, first off, do you vote? He said, yeah, I vote. I say, so he said, I voted Republican the last couple of years. I was like, all right, cool. We ain't gonna have a conversation. Because yeah, you told me he was on some Democratic shit. I was gonna go in, but he was
Hey,
just
I
like,
was
no,
ready
no,
as soon as you would have
I
said
was
the
ready.
other word.
I was ready. But he was like, no, no, no. I was like, all right, cool. Like,
Yeah, you good?
I feel like you can have that conversation because you try both sides and you seen, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you just stay locked into one thing, one thinking mentality, you're never going to expand and grow your reality. So that's just key in personal development. I think a lot of people that vote should have self-education, personal development, and they should study history when it comes down to the economy before you just vote. Those are my takes on that.
Oh, okay. So you'll be next to the homie then, right? You'll be next to the
Huh?
homie. I said you be
Right.
next. I said you be next to the homie. Rosa, or I forgot how to pronounce her name. I said it earlier though.
Vivek,
Yeah. You be next to him then if you feel like that. All right.
I did. All right. Um. Oh yeah, that was another thing we was gonna talk about, man. I forgot. The little baby deal, man. The viral pictures. That's what we supposed to do in the
Man,
segment.
that's what we earlier, man. Do that shit next time.
Yeah, that is right. Right. Yeah, there was some close pictures. But anyway, we thank you for tapping in. Talking and Talk official podcast. Make sure you tap into our content on different platforms: TikTok, YouTube. We got our YouTube links in our bios up top. We got no ordinary brother. Sometimes we call himself Juice. You just got to catch him on the right day. I go by the name of King Exodus. All right.
Hey, listen.
Uh,
Brother, go back to school. You're gonna be educated, brother.
all right. So we got Juice, Malcolm Juice, and ordinary brother. We got it all.
God damn,
All
son.
right. Appreciate y'all for watching. Make sure you share the content, comment. We like to get your feedback. All right. So thank you. Until we do this again, we'll do this again a week. We do it twice a week. Y'all tap in. Thank you for watching. We out.